What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we're going to be discussing the importance of being organized. So in this video, we want to break down why it's so important to organize, because in this age of being innovative and focusing on innovation, we have to be able to sort information that we gather, right? New information is always coming in, and as new information is coming in, we have to be able to sort and compartmentalize that information before new information comes. The only way that we can expand and grow ourselves is by being innovative and by being creative in the environments that we're given in. Our environments need to be sorted out, and we have to be able to sort our environments to be able to receive information. The whole basis of life, everybody thinks, is something that comes from prayer and just prayer alone. Us as Black people especially, we spend so much time praying, and we spend so much time just sitting and meditating and trying to get the spirit in order to achieve or accomplish something, which is good. That's only one factor of the whole equation, is obtaining the spirit in order to carry out what it is that you need to carry out. But the other form of that is being able to interpret the spirit, and that comes from the mind. The mind has to be able to interpret the spirit in order for you to most effectively carry out what it is that you're supposed to carry out in the spirit. And that's the part that us as Black people miss a lot of times. We are so caught up in church and praising the Lord and praying and doing this portion of it and obtaining the spirit. But it's like when we obtain the spirit, sometimes we don't know what to do with that spirit. We know where to go and we know where we need to be, but we don't know exactly what we need to do to be most effective. We don't know the general steps. And this comes from being educated and having understanding in that field of whatever it is that you're doing is one way to know how to interpret the spirit. It's education. It's knowing what you're getting into and knowing exactly what to do to hit the exact points that you need to on a physical level. So that is the one point. But the last point is force, and it's your ability to maneuver through resistance. If you can endure resistance, then this is how you build capacity and build strength in order to do what you need to do. So these are the three planes that we operate on in terms of as human beings. It's not just prayer. You have to be able to pray for what you want, but as well as you have to be able to interpret what it is that you're to carry out in the spirit, right? Once you receive that spirit from that prayer, you have to be able to interpret that spirit and interpret what it is that you need to do. And that's where the real power comes from. The real power comes from knowledge and understanding of what it is that you need to do in order to affect certain points. That knowledge then gets put into the test, right? Then you have to be able to go through resistance. And the more resistance you go through, the more capacity you build. So anyway, those are the 3 points that I wanted to make right there. And I wanted to say that to really express the importance of this in an aspect of sorting things and organizing information. In order to do anything, you have to be innovative in order to be most effective in what you do, because the spirit really just moves everywhere, and you have to be organized, and your mind has to be acute and attuned. It has to be opened, and it has to be understanding, and it has to be flexible enough to really get into all these different spaces that the spirit carries you in. So that's why it's so important to have flexibility and be organized. Organization is the most important thing. And whatever fields that you get into, make sure that you set up shop, right? Set up things and sort things in a way that will allow you to be most effective in what you do, right? Take time to really get creative and innovative and sort things out in whatever creative way that floats your boat, right? In whatever creative way that can help you get the job done right. So what I mean by that is, like, say your room or whatever tools that you have, take the time to really sort this out in a creative way. Don't just come in and, say you just living in somewhere. Don't just come in and just plop your belongings in, whatever, and just lay down, go to sleep, get up. No, don't do that. You take the time to actually sort things out and say, okay, here's my art. I'm going to have my art posted over here. I'm going to have these notebooks here. I'm going to put I'm going to sort out my notebooks and the different information I have. Like if I am someone who has a lot of journals and stuff, I'm going to write tags on these journals and say, this is for this, this is for this, this is for this. And this is for anybody. Everybody should be writing, because there's a lot of information that you have or might have that can get lost. And a lot of times when we write down information and, we get downloads and we just get to writing, we don't name our books and we don't sort and organize these things. We just get up and we just write them, because that's what the Spirit is leading us to do. So who's telling us to really organize these things, right? It's so important to be able to organize these things, because the Spirit is just one realm that we see, right? But the other realm is, like I said before, is the interpretation realm. Our minds have to be able to mentally interpret what it is that we're carrying out and what we're doing. So when we write down things, we have to write down names for what it is that we're doing, right? And this goes with anything that you do, right? Anything that you do, you have to be able to organize it and really structure it in an innovative way that suits you. So the way in which we really spark our minds to sort ourselves is psychological development, right? We have to be able to psychologically develop ourselves this way. And how you do that is by cleaning, right? There's certain things that you do in the physical that affects the spirit. It spiritually, what it does is it tells your body, and you're speaking to your cells in your body to move a certain way. That's what happens when you get up and clean. You're telling your body and your mind to think organization. Right? We're organizing things now. And the more we get up and do this action, the more we're telling ourselves to organize. And that principle is the same thing with anything. Like if you get on, say, hygiene, right? You take care of your body, brushing your teeth every day, taking a shower every day, and doing simple things like this. You're telling cells in your body that we care about our hygiene. We care about our physical appearance and our health and well-being. Right? This is what you're telling your body. And the same thing goes when you cook and you take the time to actually, cook and, put ingredients in, stuff like that. You're telling cells in your body to move a certain way or certain things about itself. And this is psychological development, right? So we have to be able to really, there's certain functions that we must do in order to be most effective in our lives, right? And one of those things is cleaning. Another thing is working out. Working out is telling your body that we can push through resistance to get what we want to do. We're enforcing our will. Working out is so important, because when you lift weights and you set a certain number and you achieve that number, you're telling a trillion cells in your body that we're going to, or however many numbers of, you're telling those cells that we're going to push through resistance. So psychologically development. This stuff right here is so strong and so powerful. It really can't even be, I'm not even sure if it can be reversed when you tell your body and cell things like this. This is how you psychologically develop yourself. You speak to those cells, right? So we have to be able to do these things, right? And so the reason why I wanted to really bring that up back to what I was saying was that organizing the mind, it's the interpretation of the spirit is so crucial, that I really wanted to point this out, that the interpretation of the spirit is so crucial in the mind that we have to be able to organize things, right? And that's the most important thing, because when we get on our spiritual journey, or just, when we start carving out ourselves, we have to be able to know what it is that we want to do to be most effective. It's one thing to just have the spirit to just do something. It's another thing to be mentally interpretative and understanding of what it is that we want to do. Like we have to really understand. We have to be strategic, right? We have to be strategic, and we have to be able to think critically and know the components of the things that we're getting into, right? So like, for example, I'm gonna use this as an example, and I'm gonna cut it right here, right? So if you're a basketball player, right, and you pray to be the best basketball player, or you pray that you win the game, or you do things like this, right? You can pray that you can win the game, but then you can go into the actual game and not know anything about the technical functions of the game. And then because you don't know, you run around with the spirit and you can do really good. But at the same time, you make yourself more susceptible to losing, not because the spirit failed you, but because you failed yourself on the mental level of not understanding the game enough, right? So a better example of that other than basketball would be a technical function, maybe like starting a business as an entrepreneur, I guess, right? And getting into like economics and understanding the specific things you need to do to run a business. If you don't know the specific things you need to do to run a business, all that stuff you get in the spirit, it is beneficial to you, but it's not enough to get the job done. You haven't completed the mental realm yet of going in and receiving that knowledge. But anyway, that's pretty much what we wanted to talk about in this video. Just your ability to stay organized. We talk about organizing, right? In the mental level, we have to be agile enough to be organized, right? We have to literally position ourselves and make it a point to say that, okay, we're going to organize ourselves and be ready for any type of information that comes our way so we can execute it just like that, right? So like, for example, that's why it's so important to write names on your notebooks and create areas to where you can get work done or do specific work. Because when you're led by the spirit to do things, the spirit is going to be what the spirit is going to be, man. It's going to take you somewhere and, it's going to put you there. And, you got to be able to know what you got to be able to know what you're going to do once you get in that space, right? It's going to bring you there, but you got to put you got to know what you're doing once you get there. And organizing is so important because when you can organize, you create those space. Like when you can really create those spaces and get organized, you don't get stuck because so much information can come at you at one time. And when all that information comes, information gets lost because you don't know how to compartmentalize the information that comes in. And when you don't know how to compartmentalize that information that comes in, then it's like your mind goes to overload. It gets overloaded and you get stuck. And now you can't really do anything, right? You can't really do anything because your mind gets stuck. And now you go, you go to sleeping and you go to just getting stuck and stationary. Like, nah. Once you get stationary, now you're really in a bad place because now you got all these things that you got to do and you got stuck. And now you're sitting here stuck because, you haven't properly, your mind is taking too much time to properly compartmentalize and sort, information, right? So that's why it's so important to have things sorted out so you can do that. But anyway, that's the most important thing. Is having your mind, is having things sorted out so you can take care of business and doing what you need to do. Because if you get stuck, you may miss, man. You may miss, and that's the one thing you don't want to do. You don't want to miss. So yeah, y'all, that's the importance of this video right here. That was just a matter of staying organized. So that's it for this video, man. We may make a part 2 on this, but I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.